All right, ready for a deep dive? Today we're looking at something a little different. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Okay.
This book, it's all about being present, to like unlock a happier and less stressful life.
Mm.
I know, it might sound a bit, out there,
Right.
but trust me, even if like you're not on a spiritual journey or whatever, there's some really practical stuff here. And luckily, we've got our expert here to break it all down. So we're ready to dive into the NOW?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the main idea, right, is that focusing on right now can actually help us, suffer less. But let's be real, our minds, they're like constantly jumping between like
Yeah.
past regrets and future worries. Why is it so hard to just be here now?
Well, I think our brains are they're wired for the opposite. Like we evolved to scan for threats and anticipate problems and learn from our mistakes. So in a way, being anywhere, be it present, it was actually like a survival thing for a long time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But these days, it kind of feels like that wiring is working against us. We're like always stressed and feeling like we're never enough. Is that what Tolle means by suffering?
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about the mental and emotional kind of anguish we create when we're not present. And he's saying that a lot of that suffering, it's optional. We inflict it on ourselves by like resisting what is.
Okay, I'm with you.
Right.
So how do we escape this? Tolle, he uses this example of like tackling a big project, like writing a paper or planning something huge. He says if we just focus on how big it is, we get stuck. Ever feel that way?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. It's like that feeling when you look at a pile of laundry, you just want to go back to bed. But Toll suggests we break down that big, overwhelming thing into like smaller, present moment actions.
So instead of like freaking out about writing the whole paper, you just focus on like researching for an hour.
Exactly. It's about shifting your focus from the future, to what you can do now. And suddenly you're actually making progress.
Right, like how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
And this applies to everyday life too, right? Like if your to-do list is a mile long, just focus on what you're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. By bringing your attention to the present moment, you not only get more done, but you also reduce the anxiety of feeling behind.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. But Tolle also talks about this idea of the pain body. And that's where things get a little, mind-bendy. Can you explain what he means by that?
Sure. The pain body, it's basically all the past hurts and traumas and negative experiences we carry around. And here's the thing. It actually needs pain to survive. It's like this shadowy thing that thrives on negativity.
Wait, so you're saying a part of us actually wants to be unhappy? That can't be right.
It sounds strange, but think about it. How often do you find yourself dwelling on an old argument or complaining about the same stuff, even though it doesn't make you feel better?
Oh, all the time. I never thought about it like that. So are you saying we're all just like addicted to our own misery?
Well, maybe not addicted, but Tolle, he argues that the pain body, it looks for like familiar patterns of suffering. It's like we keep refilling this reservoir of old hurt by looking for negativity or drama.
Whoa, that's kind of mind-blowing. So
Yeah.
there's times when I can't let go of an argument or I stay in a relationship that's clearly not working. That's my pain body calling the shots.
It could be. The pain body is sneaky, It wants to keep us stuck in these cycles of suffering.
Okay, this is starting to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But it also feels a bit, daunting. Can we actually break free from this?
We can. But first we need to understand something else. Something Tolle calls the ego.
Okay, bring on the ego.
No, the ego, it's a complicated thing, but simply put, it's that part of our mind that's always seeking validation, comparing, wanting to feel separate from others. It's the voice that says you're not good enough, not doing enough.
So like our inner critic,
Mm.
the one who's always like raining on our parade.
Yeah.
But how does the ego relate to this pain body thing?
Well, the ego actually thrives on conflict and misery. It needs those things to feel important. And guess who provides all those negative emotions?
The pain body, they're like this team, feeding off
Yeah.
each other, keeping us stuck.
Exactly. But here's the good news. By becoming aware of this, we can start to break free.
So how do we do that? How do we like break free?
Well, Tolle suggests something pretty interesting. He says, turn your attention to your body.
Really? That seems, I don't know, kind of counterintuitive. Isn't most self-help stuff all about like changing our thoughts, not focusing on like physical feelings?
Right. But Tolle argues that the body, it's our gateway to the present. Think about it. Your body's always here now. It's our mind that's, off on those time
So
travels.
by connecting with our bodies, we're grounding ourselves in the now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like dropping anchor, and it's not even a new idea. Remember, like, your body is a temple. Tolle even compares it to the teachings of Jesus.
Oh yeah. Jesus, he talked a lot about the body as like this metaphor for spiritual stuff. Didn't he talk about like honoring it?
He did, and it makes you wonder, what if we've been like missing the body's role in our search for peace?
Maybe we have. I mean, I know when I'm stressed, I kind of disconnect from my body. I'm all up in my head.
That's pretty common. But what if instead of trying to escape those uncomfortable feelings, we leaned into them?
Lean into the discomfort. How does that help?
By simply noticing those physical feelings without judging, we bring our attention back to the present moment.
Yeah.
We interrupt the mental chatter and reconnect.
So, like, instead of ignoring that knot in my stomach or that tension, I actually acknowledge it.
Yeah, exactly. And not just acknowledge, but explore it, curiously. Like, what does it feel like? Where is it exactly? Is it tight? Is it achy?
So we're going inward and really listening to what our bodies are trying to tell us.
Exactly. And this brings us to another one of Tolle's ideas, observing the mind.
Okay, observing the mind. Does this mean I need to, like, sit on a mountain and meditate for hours?
Not necessarily. It's more about being a detached observer of your thoughts, like watching clouds. You see them, but you don't get caught up in them. You don't judge them.
So creating space between our thoughts and ourselves.
Exactly. Tolle has this exercise he suggests. He says, ask yourself, what will my next thought be?
What will my next thought be? Wow, that's pretty amazing. Just asking that, I feel a little distance from my thoughts. It's like I'm not my thoughts. I'm the one watching them.
That's it, the power of observation. It helps you realize you're not your thoughts. You're the awareness behind them. And once you see that, you have a choice. You don't have to believe every thought.
This is starting to feel like we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like we're not just controlled by our thoughts and feelings anymore.
Right. And this leads us to another interesting idea, active waiting.
Active waiting. Isn't that kind of, I don't know, contradictory? Isn't waiting the opposite of being active?
Well, here active waiting is about like a heightened state of present awareness. It's that feeling you get right before something important happens, Your senses are sharp, you're completely in the moment.
I think I get it. It's like when you're about to give a big presentation or you're waiting for like medical test results, you're tense but also super focused.
Yeah, exactly. Tolle actually connects this to this Zen master story. Apparently, these Zen masters would sneak up on their students, trying to catch them off guard.
Oh, I love a good Zen master story. So were the students supposed to like fight back or something?
Not really. The students who were like truly present, the ones who'd mastered this active waiting, they could sense the master coming and not get hit.
So it's about being so in tune with the now that you become like super perceptive and adaptable.
You got it. And we might not need to dodge Zen masters in our daily lives, but this active waiting can be really helpful in all kinds of situations.
I can see that. Like if you're in a tense meeting or you're having a difficult conversation, being, truly present could help you handle it better.
Absolutely. It lets you respond from a place of awareness, not just react out of fear or anxiety.
Okay, this is all starting to make sense. But I'm curious about relationships. Like if you're all Zen and present, but your partner isn't, could that cause problems?
You're right. You're right. Toole even says that this way of living, it can be tough in relationships, especially if one person is still like really identified with their ego.
Because the ego, it loves conflict, right?
Right.
And suddenly it's like losing its favorite playground.
Exactly. It can be really threatening to the ego when its partner is no longer playing those drama games.
So what happens then? Can you even have a good relationship if one person is, all about the present moment and the other isn't?
It is possible. It is. But it takes awareness and some skillful, maneuvering. Tolle uses these great analogies. He says it's like darkness tried to exist with light, or water clashing with fire.
Wow, those are pretty intense images.
See?
So how do we find that balance? Do we have to like convert our partner?
Not at all.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that even if our partner's not on the same page, we can still respond from a place of presence and compassion.
So instead of getting sucked into their drama,
Hmm.
we observe it, we see it, and then we choose a different way to respond.
Exactly. Now this doesn't mean we just, become a doormat or anything. It's about setting good boundaries, but keeping our inner peace.
This is really important.
Yeah.
It's easy to think that this way of living is all like rainbows and butterflies, but real life is messy,
Mhm.
especially relationships.
You're right. And we need to remember that even with this present moment awareness, some pain, it's just unavoidable. Loss, grief, things we can't control. They're just part of life.
That's true. It's not about pretending everything's okay or pushing away difficult feelings, but how do we deal with that unavoidable pain without being totally overwhelmed by it?
Tully, he talks about acceptance. Instead of fighting those feelings or pushing them down, we let them flow through us. No judgment, no resistance.
So like what you resist persists.
Exactly. He uses the example of grieving someone. It's normal to feel sad, but by accepting those feelings as part of the process, we don't add more suffering on top of it.
That's a good point. Sometimes I think we try so hard to be, happy and positive that we end up like denying ourselves the full experience of being human.
Yeah, it's a common trap, but Tolle reminds us that real acceptance, it's not pretending everything's fine. It's about embracing what is without adding extra suffering on top of it.
Okay, this is all making sense. But I have to admit, I'm still wrestling with this idea of present moment living and action. Does being present mean we just like accept everything and never try to change anything?
That's a pretty common misconception, yeah. But Tolle makes it clear that inner stillness, it doesn't mean we can't take action in the world. In fact, it can make us more effective.
So it's not about just sitting back and letting life happen.
Not at all. He uses this analogy. Imagine you're stuck in mud. You don't just, sit there.
No, you try to get out.
Exactly. You take action to free yourself. But the key is to act from a place of centered awareness, not just frantic reaction.
I like that analogy. So like present moment living, it helps us see clearly what needs to be done
Mm.
and then do it without all the mental drama.
Exactly. It's about balancing that inner peace with taking action in the world.
This is pretty inspiring. I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling like lighter.
That's great to hear. And that's just the beginning. The more you practice this present moment awareness, the more those benefits will spread to all parts of your life.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I'm curious what really stuck with you from the power of now.
For me, it's that this present moment thing. It's not about like running away from life or ignoring problems. It's actually like this source of strength to really engage with the world.
Yeah. It's not about being like blissful all the time or
Yeah.
pretending everything's perfect. It's about learning to be present with whatever's happening, good or bad.
Exactly. And it's a practice. It's like coming back to this present moment over and over, especially when things are tough.
And that's where like all those techniques come in, right? Like
Yeah.
connecting with our bodies, observing our minds, not judging, all that stuff to bring us back to the now.
It's powerful stuff. And,
Yeah.
and what I really like about Tolle is that we're not like victims of our circumstances or our thoughts. We can choose how we respond to each moment.
I love that. It's so empowering. Instead of feeling like stuck in the past or worried about the future, we can actually like create a better present.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening, if you're feeling inspired, I want to leave you with this question. What part of your life could use a little more, present moment awareness? Your work, relationships, your own thoughts, whatever it is. I really encourage you to try these things out. See how it changes things for you.
That's a great question. And as we wrap up our deep dive into the power of now, I just want to say thanks for joining us. It's been quite a journey, and I hope you've gotten something out of it.
It's been great talking about this with you. And remember, the present moment, it's all we really have. So breathe, be present, and embrace the power of now.
Well said. Well said. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring, and hey, maybe even try one of those techniques we talked about. You never know what you might find in the present moment.